Hello and welcome back. I'm Barbara O'Neal. Today we are diving into a critical health issue that many of us face as we age: high blood pressure. Managing blood pressure is vital for maintaining overall health and reducing the risk of serious conditions like heart disease and stroke. As we get older, our bodies undergo changes that can make it harder to keep blood pressure in check. But the good news is that there are practical steps we can take to manage it effectively.
So what causes damage to the arterial wall? The arterial wall is made up of little endothelium cells, and they get damaged quite easily. So environmental poisons, chemicals, damage the cells. Cigarette smoke. In fact, in a cigarette there's 4,000 chemicals, more chemicals. Chemicals in clothing, chemicals in laundry detergents, chemicals in food. They're all coming in, contributing to the damage. What also damages is mercury. Mercury is a neurotoxin. It can damage the arterial walls. What can also damage the arterial walls is mould. Mould is a toxic poison. So who's going to plug up the holes, students? LDL. That's its role. Unfortunately today, people are not aware of the damage that these chemicals are causing, and so what's happening in the arterial walls is we've got build-up. What's that called? That's atherosclerosis. To say that cholesterol causes heart disease is like saying the fire trucks are causing the fire. Well, they must be. Have you noticed they're the one common denominator at every fire? God made the liver to make cholesterol for a purpose. It's just doing its job. Something else comes into the equation. There are little protein molecules floating all through our blood. And when someone's on a very high carbohydrate diet, high sugar diet, there's got excess glucose floating through the blood, and it connects with these little protein molecules and becomes sticky, and it sticks. They stick to the walls of the arteries, and what they can do is they can get dislodged, and there's the blockage. That's the number one cause of a stroke if it's in the carotid arteries. It's the number one cause of a heart attack happening in the heart muscle. So can you see by what I've shown you here, it's not one thing that causes heart disease, it's a whole lot of little things. Can that be cleared out? Absolutely, it can be cleared out. You might have heard of a very famous American doctor. Her name's Dr. Agatha Thrash. She's passed now, but her and her husband started Uchee Pines. She used to tell the story of a lady that came to their retreat who was an alcoholic. She was in her, I think, early 70s. She had a total turnaround at the health retreat. She went through the detox program. She gave her heart to God. And she said to Agatha, "I don't want to leave." And Agatha said, "I think we can make a place for you here." And she helped out. After 10 months, the lady had a stroke and she died. I think an embolism had burst in her brain. So Agatha Thrash did a post-mortem on her. And she said her arteries were clear. And when she came to them 10 months earlier, she had 85, sometimes 95% occlusion, meaning blockage of her arteries. You can't always put a time on it for how long, but that's quite amazing, isn't it? So in 10 months, maybe even shorter than that, going on a plant-based diet, stopping anything that would come in and harm these arterial walls, her arteries had cleared.
Lifestyle changes can transform arterial health. A plant-based diet, regular exercise, stress management, hydration, and adequate sleep reduce damage to arteries and improve heart health. Avoiding toxins like cigarette smoke and processed foods is crucial. Dr. Agatha Thrash's retreat showed how even severe blockages can be reversed with a healthier lifestyle. Proof that small steps lead to big results.
But in his book, The Great Cholesterol Con, Dr. Malcolm Kendrick, who's a British cardiovascular surgeon. Notice the title of his book, The Great Cholesterol Con. He said for the first time, normal levels of a normal vital body substance is being called a disease. He said there is no proof. There is no proof that cholesterol causes heart disease. Now that's shocking. I have a few books. One's called The Great Cholesterol Lie by Dr. Dwight Lundell, another cardiovascular surgeon. The Great Cholesterol Deception by Dr. Peter Dingle, he's a PhD in Australia. The Great Cholesterol Hoax, The Great Cholesterol Myth by Johnny Bowden. We're running out of words. It's not cholesterol. And it's not fat. If it was fat, the Maasai would be dying like flies. They live on meat, blood, and milk. Zero heart disease. And if it was saturated fat, when white man landed on the South Pacific Islands, they would have found a huge amount of heart disease and strokes in the islanders. Zero. And yet they're eating saturated fat every meal. The coconut. The French, oh, they love their butters and their cheeses and their creams. Very low heart disease. So let's have a look at what else medicine is doing to try and get heart disease down. They've lowered the levels. Did you know that 40 years ago, a cholesterol level of 300 was perfectly normal? Have we changed? We haven't changed at all. We've still got the same body. How do I know this? We had a nutritionist do our program and she's 69. She said, I've got the advantage of being in university 40 years ago. She said 40 years ago, 300 was perfectly normal. Is it perfectly normal today? We're told it's not, but it is. So if someone says to me, Barbara, my cholesterol's 290, I say, great. That's really good. The Framingham Heart Study, you've heard of it. It was a little town in the US, Framingham. It's been going for about 30 years. Probably about 40,000 people have been on the study. Some die, more come on. It was set up to prove that cholesterol causes heart disease, but it hasn't. It hasn't at all. In fact, what it did show is that people with high cholesterol levels don't get Alzheimer's. Do you need a moment's silence to digest that? Can you see why? Because the brain is the fattiest organ in the body, and it needs fat.
High cholesterol and blood pressure are often linked to heart disease, but the story is more nuanced. Cholesterol is vital for cell building and hormone production, but issues arise when levels get too high due to poor diet, genetics, or lifestyle. Similarly, high blood pressure damages arteries and increases the risk of heart disease. A holistic approach is key. Eat whole foods, exercise regularly, and manage stress. Refined sugars and processed foods worsen both conditions, so reducing them is essential. By addressing the root causes instead of just symptoms, we can achieve better heart health.
How much water a day? At least 8 glasses. They're 8-ounce glasses. Little by little, all through the day. It's the best blood thinner. When I used to be the health director at Misty Mountain Health Retreat in Australia, I did a live blood analysis. We took a drop of blood, put it on the screen, on the microscope, and it came up on the screen. And sometimes I would see blood that was all clumped, like this. Blood should be like this. And I would always investigate, and I would find in 99% of cases the person hadn't drunk enough water. So they'd start drinking more water. I'd look at their blood 2 days later and it looks like this. Misty Mountain Health Retreat used to average 12 to 14 guests every week. This is 3 weeks a month, so years and years of looking at blood. So it's hundreds of bloods I've looked at. And as I said to you, 99% of the time, it was dehydration that caused this. So I know that water is the best blood thinner. But also salt. Let me give you the salt story. Seawater contains 92 minerals. Of those 92 minerals, 30% is made up of sodium and 50% is made up of chloride. And because sodium chloride make up the most amount of minerals, they're the first crystals formed when water is evaporated from seawater. So man scoops that up, bleaches it white, puts aluminium with it so it runs freely. There's your table salt. And the doctor's right, table salt can contribute to high blood pressure. Table salt only has 2 minerals. Let me show you why. I'll draw the cell again. Around the cell is a bilayered membrane, and in that bilayered membrane there are calcium-potassium pumps. And those, sodium-potassium pumps. And those sodium-potassium pumps are always going like this. And the highest concentration of mineral outside the cell is sodium. The highest concentration inside the cell is potassium. There should be a little bit of sodium there. When someone's sprinkling table salt on everything, their sodium levels start to go too high. Potassium is found in all our fresh fruits and vegetables. If someone's not eating fresh fruit and vegetables, potassium levels drop. Now these 2 minerals are so harsh that they can kill the taste buds. That's why people put it on everything without even tasting whether it needs it or not. So what's happening when this happens, sodium going too high, potassium dropping too low? Osmosis and diffusion happens when the highest concentration merges into a lower concentration. So now we're getting sodium go too high in the cell, and that causes the cell to swell. There's your high blood pressure. Dr. Lilangre, he's a French doctor, he's written a whole book on salt. He said, we have no problems with salt in France, because he said in France, we have hand-harvested sea salt. It's called Celtic salt. And Celtic salt has 82 minerals. He said, when I get someone with high blood pressure, I put them on Celtic salt because it brings the proper mineral balance in. If someone's used to no salt, they should start slowly. Dr. Robert Thompson, in his book, The Calcium Lie, he says a little tiny crystal of salt, that might be the size of a sesame seed, before every glass of water, so that's 8 times a day. He says all that'll do is replace the minerals you lost yesterday. We lose it when we perspire, we lose it when we urinate, we lose it from our colon. And we must replace it.
Staying hydrated and choosing the right salt are just the start. A balanced diet rich in fruits and vegetables provides key minerals like potassium, magnesium, and calcium, essential for healthy blood pressure and cell function. Regular exercise, about 30 minutes most days, improves circulation, heart health, and weight management. Avoid processed foods, which are high in sodium and unhealthy fats, leading to high blood pressure and other issues. Focus on whole, natural foods to keep your body healthy and functioning at its best.
So before I close, I want to introduce you to a few herbs. One is the cayenne pepper. In Psalm 104, verse 14, the Bible says that God gave herbs for the service of man. And cayenne pepper is one of the best heart herbs we have. Cayenne pepper does 3 things. It thins the blood. Whereas aspirin, it thins the blood to the point where it causes eye bleeds, brain bleeds, and stomach bleeds. It's not a safe drug. Whereas cayenne pepper, it thins the blood and it'll heal the brain bleeds from the aspirin in the brain and the eye and the stomach. Cayenne pepper also dilates the blood vessels. So with dilating the blood vessels, you get a more effective and efficient flow of blood through the whole body. And cayenne pepper strengthens the arterial wall. So if there has been damage in the arterial walls, the cayenne pepper will strengthen arterial walls. It's a powerful herb. How do you take it? Start with 1/4 teaspoon in about 1/3 cup of water just before each meal. Throw it down, it'll tingle a bit, but the tingle stops. The other herb is hawthorn berry. Hawthorn berry strengthens the heart. In fact, if the blood pressure's low, it'll bring it up. If it's high, it'll bring it down. Remember Psalm 104 verse 14, God made herbs for the service of man. The hawthorn berry comes in, and whatever your body needs to do, whatever your heart needs to do, it will work with that. So you can take it in many ways. You can take it as a herb tea. If you take it as a herb tea, being a dried berry, it needs to be gently simmered. And the rule of thumb is 2 teaspoons to a cup of water, and ideally you would have 1 litre of that a day. Or you can buy it in a capsule form or a tablet form, and you can take up to 4,000 milligrams a day. It's a very safe herb, and you can use it even in conjunction with blood pressure medication. So I'll give you the story of Henry to show you what he did. He was a retired judge. He came to our health retreat a few years ago now. He was, I think, 69, and he was on 6 medication. He was on medication for high blood pressure, for blood thinning, for blood cholesterol, for blood sugar, for gout, and for stomach ulcers. So he's on 6 medications. I said, "Are you interested in stopping your medication?" He said, "No, I'm very happy with my medication. Thank you very much. I always respect everyone's right for what they choose to put into their body. And shouldn't we? It's our God-given right." But we gave him hawthorn berry tea a day. We gave him 1 litre to drink through the day.
Thank you for joining me today to discuss the vital topic of high blood pressure. Managing your blood pressure is essential for protecting your health, especially as you age. By eating well, staying active, and focusing on overall wellness, you can take control of your health. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. Let's work together to build a healthier future. Take care and see you next time.